There's a move the Trump White House makes with metronomic regularity every time political violence touches the president or his orbit. Caroline Leavitt performed it on Monday before the briefing room podium in the wake of the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last weekend. The left-wing cult of hatred, she said, has spent 11 years demonizing Donald Trump. The would-be assassin's writings, she claimed, were indistinguishable from the things that Democrats and journalists say every day. The conclusion she would like you to draw is simple. If you describe this president accurately, you are loading the gun. I want to say this plainly, because the obfuscation has gone on long enough. No, Caroline Leavitt, naming who Donald Trump is, how bad he is for democracy, how unfit he is for the presidency, that he is a convicted criminal, and that he is self-dealing and corrupt is not, in fact, incitement to violence. It is journalism. It is the job. It is the thing the First Amendment was written to protect, and the thing that this president has spent a decade trying by every available means to punish out of existence. But we should talk for a moment about incitement to violence. Let us talk about who in this dialogue has actually used the language of violence against their perceived opponents, because the record is not ambiguous. This is not in any meaningful sense a both sides story. This is the president who 2 days before the 2024 election stood at a rally in Lititz, Pennsylvania, gestured at the press pen and told the crowd that to assassinate him, quote, someone would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much. Trump laughed. The crowd laughed. He repeated, "They are my glass." Reporters, as human shields, casually offered up in front of thousands of supporters. This is the president who, in October of 2018, at a rally in Montana, lavished praise on then-Congressman Greg Gianforte for body-slamming the Guardian reporter Ben Jacobs the previous year, an actual physical assault to which Gianforte pleaded guilty. Quote, "Any guy that can do a body slam is my kind of guy," Trump told the crowd, while Jacobs' assailant stood there grinning. Gianforte, convicted of assault on a member of the press, is now the governor of Montana. This is the president who in 2017 tweeted a doctored WWE video of himself tackling a man whose face had been replaced with the CNN logo and beating him to the ground. This is the man who in 2015 mused at a rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan about Vladimir Putin's habit of having journalists murdered, pointed to the press pen and said, "I hate them. I would never kill them. I would never do that." Then he paused, that showman's pause Trump does, and he added, let's see, no, I would never do that. The joke being, of course, that he was thinking about it. This is the president who, since announcing his first campaign, has called the press the enemy of the people. The enemy of the people, a phrase with a very specific and well-documented lineage, running through Stalin, running through Mao, through every regime that has ever decided that journalists were a problem to be solved. The Committee to Protect Journalists cataloged more than 1,300 hostile social media posts from Donald Trump about the media during his candidacy and the first 2 years in office alone. After a gunman murdered 5 staff members of the Capital Gazette newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland in 2018, Donald Trump's use of the phrase enemy of the people went up, not down. This is the president who has filed lawsuits against ABC, CBS, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Des Moines Register, the Pulitzer Prize Board, and a string of others, not because he expects to win those lawsuits on the merits, but because the lawsuits themselves are the punishment, and because every news organization watching is meant to draw the appropriate lessons about what reporting honestly on this man costs. This is the president whose administration has stripped press credentials, banned outlets from the press pool, taken over the seating chart in the briefing room, replaced traditional reporters with friendly podcasters and influencers. This is the president whose Department of Defense now requires journalists to sign loyalty pledges to maintain access. So when Leavitt stands at the podium and says that the writings of the man who tried to shoot up the Correspondents' Dinner is indistinguishable from what reporters say every day, what exactly is she claiming? That asking whether the president of the United States meets the constitutional bar for office is the same as picking up a rifle? That noting accurately that he was found liable for sexual abuse, convicted on 34 felony counts in New York, and found by multiple federal courts to have engaged in self-dealing through his business empire, that saying these things out loud is the moral equivalent of an attempted assassination? This is the trick And it needs to be named. The administration is trying to launder Donald Trump's documented, proven record into a kind of unspeakable fact. The argument is not that the press has gotten its reporting wrong. The argument is that the press should stop reporting it, because the reporting itself is what is dangerous. Truth itself becomes the incitement. Coverage itself becomes complicity. And the only way to be a responsible journalist under this framework is to stop describing what you are seeing. This is not a free press. This is the absence of a free press. Calling Trump's policies authoritarian is not loose rhetoric. It is a description. It is one effectively ratified by federal judges, including some that Donald Trump himself have appointed, who have repeatedly ruled that his administration's actions are unlawful. There's a real conversation to be had about American political violence, which is ugly and getting worse. Trump himself has now survived 3 attempts on his life. This is a serious thing. But the conversation Levitt wants is not that conversation. The conversation Levitt wants is one where the only rhetoric that counts as dangerous is the rhetoric pointed at and critical of Donald Trump. And where the man who told a Pennsylvania crowd that he wouldn't mind reporters getting shot gets to position himself as the chief victim of American political speech. This is not a good faith reckoning. This is a protection racket dressed up as a unity speech. And if you want to see the doctrine that Levitt was articulating at the podium translated into action, look at what happened on Tuesday. 3 days after the Correspondents' Dinner shooting, the Justice Department indicted the former FBI director, James Comey, on 2 felony counts for posting an Instagram photo in May of last year of seashells arranged on a beach that read 8647. The administration's theory is that 86 means to kill, that 47 means Trump because he's the 47th president, and that a former FBI director's caption about a cool shell formation was a threat against the president's life. Comey deleted the post the same day he made it, said he hadn't realized that some people associate the number 86, which is a restaurant industry term, which means that the restaurant has run out of an item, with violence, and condemned political violence of any kind. But none of that matters. The charges came anyway, brought by an acting attorney general who was, until recently, Donald Trump's personal defense lawyer. That is the standard. That is what tone down the rhetoric actually means in practice when this White House says it. It does not mean stop threatening people. It means stop describing the president. The press's job this week and every week is the same as it has always been. Bear witness. Hold the powerful to account. Cover the pardons and the self-dealing and the contempt of court findings and the ICE raids and the deals with foreign autocrats. Cover the man as he is with the words that accurately describe him and let the chips fall where they may. That is not incitement. That is the press of the United States of America doing the one thing that the founders thought was important enough to put in the very first amendment to our Constitution. If Karoline Leavitt finds the description of her boss intolerable, the problem is not the description.